Hello and well met. Hello. Hello, everybody. This is Founder Lay Road. I'm here with Fantasy Grounds College. Today, I'm going to continue the Homage to the Dark Alliance video game, which was something that came out a while back. It was kind of it wasn't the best game in the world, but it's definitely nostalgic. Last episode, I was putting together some items from Drizzt to Erden's background and from his history. I don't have everything, but I have most everything covered. I'm going to start building his character as well, so we can get into that too. So what I have now are some things loaded for content. I have a stat block with some of his stats. I've already made Icing Death. His green hooded cloak, I think, is +1 leather, so we can probably deal with that. He has, let's see, Icing Death, Twinkle. I don't have Tamaril because I'm going to give that to Catty Bree. He won't have the Horn Charm of my Leaky at the moment. I did make Guinevere, and supposedly Guinevere is a panther, but the stat block to be used is a saber-tooth tiger, so I'll have to take a look at that. And then this is his build for 8th level, so I'm going to do something similar to that. So he's going to be a champion for the archetype, so he has improved critical and remarkable athlete as some of his feats, so I have to remember that as I'm building the character. And then he has his stats here, so I'm not going to change any stats right now, but as I level him up and such, I'll start messing with that. At the very end, when I get him to level 8, I will change the stats. I'm going to remove him off the combat tracker for now, just so I can test him when I'm done with him. And then his actions tab, I already made Icing Death as a item, and it has some of the extra features like the glowing blade and looks like extinguish flames as a notation and fire resistance. So I got to remember to put that on him if he's wielding that weapon. And then on the items themselves in inventory, he's got Twinkle attuned to himself. I got to get him his other items too and put it on his stat block inventory. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of build the character up and then start adding the items. I went into the items area, and what I did is I took a Cloak of Protection and I modified it, and I just made this Adnan Spider silk shirt. That's what he wears over the top of the chainmail. And it gives him +2 AC on saving throws and a bonus to armor class. So this will be something I'm going to put in his inventory, so I can I'll do that afterwards. But this is something I kind of modified, and I just renamed it, and I changed some of the descriptions around. I gave it a value, and then I went ahead and put this here. If I find any lore, which I'm going to look for later, I might include that as well. So that way it has a little bit of a story. I did that for Twinkle and Icing Death too. I put the lore in here so that if anyone used this character, they can read about it. The other thing is that when you're using these characters, especially these epic ones, you kind of want to have a little bit of backstory if you've never read about them. And the other thing is to kind of make the game a little bit more interesting instead of just having a +2 blade. I mean, kind of want to know like what's the deal with it. Well, I mean, why is it +2? You know, that sort of thing. So we did that last time, and then Icing Death is done. That's the next thing I want to put on his sheet. And I got some lore I want to put on here where he got the Frost brand at. Yeah, so it's got a dragon's head on it. It's very cold to the touch. It has stylized icicles engraved along its length, so it's really nice looking. And the one of these is a defensive sword for left-handed, and one's for the right hand. This one does require attunement, Twinkle, so that one has the attunement on it. And then for Icing Death, it also requires attunement. So I'm going to put that on his character sheet a little while. Let's see, let's just try it out right now. Yep, so there's Icing Death, and it requires attunement. And it's so I now have one left that I can attune to if I play by rules as written. You can adjust the attunement amount. Being that he's an epic character, he might end up with 5, but I mean, that's very rare that somebody gets something like that. Okay, and then, you know, he's got his inventory stuff that I'm going to go ahead and add or adjust if I need to. Like I said, I already made Guinevere, and all it is really is just a note with a stat block attached to it. So I have to build the Panther. So in the NPCs area, it says to give him the description of a Panther, but the stat block of a saber-tooth tiger. So let's take a look at saber-tooth. Okay, so here's a saber-tooth tiger stat block. And then I want to look at Panther, see if there is one. Yeah, so there's a Panther and a saber-tooth tiger. So I want to use the stats of this, but I want to use some of the, if there is any, some description. So this is the tiger. I want to have some of that wording change. So looks like the damage is a little greater with the saber-tooth, and the claw damage is a little bit heavier. The traits are similar. The pounce is a little bit better for the saber-tooth. Perception and stealth are roughly the same. Passive perception on the Panther is better than the saber-tooth. And the saber-tooth is actually a challenge rating 2 monster as opposed to a quarter. And has more hit points. Has the same AC for armor class. Stats are a little bit better in strength, but a little bit less in stealth. So that's probably what that... And then the wisdom part is different. So that's basically the difference there. There is... I don't see any extra text back here. So we got enough... We got spaces where we can put the lore. So really, I don't need to use the Panther at all. There's nothing on here. Let's see. It's got a speed of 40 and a climb of speed of 50 and a climb of 40. This guy's got a speed of 40. I think, honestly, he needs a climb, too. So in order to modify this, I need to make a copy of it. So I'm just going to take the saber-tooth, drag it back into this area here, get rid of my search criteria, and then I'm going to select uncategorized because it's not in with any group right now. And then when I adjust this, I'm going to go ahead and call this a Black Panther just for the non-ID name. And I'll say large because I think it is a large creature. Yeah, it's a large beast. So large Black Panther is the non-ID name. So when you don't identify it, that's what it's named. Large, it's a beast, unaligned. I wanted to add climb of at least 30 feet, so I think that's important. I don't know why the other one didn't get it, but this is a Panther, not a saber-tooth tiger, so should be able to climb a little bit. And let's see, so the hit points are there, saving throws, all that stuff. So I really don't need to change anything on there, which is great. And then I'm going to lock it, and that should take care of the climb speed. Let me see if I did that right. So if I open this up, we take a look at that Panther again. Make sure I have the all the stuff correct. So it's 50 feet climb, and then it has... I got to make a copy of it so I can open it up. Okay, so it has... So I'm going to copy and paste actually this and just change it around here. So it's 40 feet, because he's so big, probably. That's probably why he can't move as fast as a Panther. or the saber-tooth, and then 30 for the climb. I mean, he's got to be able to climb. There's just no way. Okay, so that's basically, I think that's fair. I'm kind of doing some house ruling here. So these are the saves, pounce, bite, claws. Okay, we're good to go. So I want to rename this. This is going to be Guinevere, Drizzt's cat. And I want to attach it to the item as well. But before I do that, I want to lock this, and I might change the token too. So let me go to, let's get out of this Panther thing, and let's go to the uncategorized. See, that's the Panther. I don't want that. And then all. Here's our saber-tooth tiger. But we're, like I said, we're going to call it Guinevere. We're going to make it a Black Panther. So here's the Panther stat block. But I want the saber-tooth one. Where did it go? I must already have it open because it's not coming up. So that is that. Okay, that's the original. Where's the one I modified? There it is. Okay, so this is going to be Guinevere, and we're going to call it Black Panther. And then in parentheses, I'm just going to put Guinevere in here, because this is the stat block that you're going to use for this if you control this character. And then I want to put the formal name in there, so let me go to the item. I must have closed it. Yeah. So let me go to the item itself, which is in items. And here's the figurine of wondrous power. There's Guinevere's name, so I'm just going to copy and paste it because I can never remember how to spell it. I spell it 50 different ways. It's still not right. So there's that. So the non-ID name will show just large Black Panther, but when you identify the creature, it will say Black Panther and then Guinevere in parentheses. So this is just a reskinned saber-tooth tiger. It's got a little tougher stats, and it's got, it's a little more powerful. It's got a few more hit points than a regular panther. So that's that. And now what I'm going to do is check my drop-down list and see. So I don't have a group for this. So I want to make a group for NPCs. So I'm going to click Add Category. And it says Group 1. So I'm going to call this Dark Alliance NPCs. I'm sure I'll have to make more in the future. So I'm going to go through the original game and pull those out and try to stat them and make it right. And I don't want any parentheses or commas or anything in there, so that might throw off Fantasy Grounds. Okay, so there's that. So I'm going to go to all for right now. And instead of going to the saber-tooth, I'm going to go to the Black Panther. And then drop this list down, and I'm going to drag it from the uncategorized to the Dark Alliance group that I made. So it's going to go in here. So now when I open up that, Guinevere appears in that group, and then this is where the actual creature is. And I can take this and I'll link it when I'm done or get closer and actually get a token. So I'm going to go to my assets. And I think I need to go to my data folder under tokens. And then I'm going to go to data. And I want to go to Bernardo's tokens. And then I know that there's a panther or something in here. Yeah. So here's the Black Panther. Pretty neat looking. So I unlocked the token here, and you have to make sure that you can unlock it before you can do this. But I'm going to drag and drop this token on top of the regular S token. So now he has an actual top-down token. So that's cool. So now that it's done, now I want to put the lore on here. So before you close this up and link anything, you want to make sure you're done with the actual content. Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for the follow. Gaia Falor, that's pretty cool. Thank you. yeah, so I'm just kind of putting together some NPCs and some D&D based heroic characters, those sort of things. I'm hoping to get to the point where I can actually start building a character, but I want to make sure all the assets are built, because when you're done with the assets, you can just link them to the character. If you're building your character and then you're trying to build one thing at a time, it takes a long time. So I'm going to find some lore on Guinevere and then go from there, because I don't want to necessarily do a bunch of this during the show, because it's not very fun to sit here and watch me fumbling around looking for stuff. So Guinevere is Drizzt's friend, but it's also a sentient cat. I think it's in the ethereal plane when he summons it. And then when it's damaged, it goes back there. But it can return, but it takes 7 days to charge. And then it has to, you can only use it for an hour. So it's got some limitations to it. So I'll just take a look and see what I can find for his cat. And I noticed that there was a cool little figurine that came out. So here's Guinevere. I found her online. You won't see this, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this stuff, because this is basically the lore that I want. It's a 600-pound Black Panther that resides on the... let's see, you can summon to the primordial plane, but it's on the astral plane is where she exists. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put her on the lore back here in the back of the character sheet, or the NPC stat block in this case. So I'm just going to put lore, and then I'm going to copy and paste some of the material that I get off the wiki guide, because that's where I'm getting the information from. And then you can reformat it as you need to when you're building content like this. It's better to go out and do it and get it reformatted first, but I wanted to show you this. And if you'll notice these weird characters, it's because Fantasy Grounds has changed their formatting so that they, when you have these weird characters in here, it's going to give you these little things here. So we got to go back and fix that. So these are commas that are like 600 pounds. We don't even need that there. And then 2,700 kilos is the other. So those commas didn't come through very well from the HTML. So that's something you want to remember. So put it in Notepad++. And then I'm going to hit Control-J to get rid of the formatting, and it's really not anything there. So this is lore. So I'm going to take and put this, make this bold. Or no, I'm going to actually make this the a header type. And then I'm going to come down and grab the rest of the text online from the actual wiki. So here's the description of her and the rest of the text. So what I usually do is I'll grab the text and I'll put it in a text editor. I'm doing it in Fantasy Grounds, so you can see it can be done there, but it's better if you do it ahead of time. So I got all this gobbledygook here. So this is the description. So I want to keep that. That's going to be in bold. So I'll just put that in bold. And then this, all the rest of the stuff, I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to hit Control-J and kind of reformat it. So this is that. And there's some numbers in here I want to get rid of. So there's a lot of formatting that you have to do to text quite often, especially if you grab it off the internet. It really gets all jumbled up and extra spaces and stuff like that. So anyhow, this is all the formatting stripped out. So what did I do here? Oh, that's the uses. Yeah. So what I want to do is come back here. Hit Control-J. And then here, I want to hit Control-J. And what that does is it cleans up the double spacing and all the weird stuff, the characters and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make that bold. And then there's another group that says how to use it and that sort of thing. So I want to grab that. So creation, here we go. So this is one section, and then this is the lore, or the information that goes to it. And then there is a history. Let's see, what is that supposed to look like? History is her backstory according to the Forgotten Realms lore. So her history is not filled out in here. I don't know why, but there is description, uses, history, and creation. I could probably find history somewhere else, but maybe it's because her history isn't complete yet. So that could be what it is. But there is a history of, or excuse me, that was the it was the history that I need to get rid of. There we go. So this is their creation story. Talks about who made this actual beautiful little figurine. Back in the days of Mithra and Or, and that, this is a long time ago. It was like when the first elves were around, or right after that, when the mythals were still functioning and stuff. So I remember reading about this in one of the books. They had a little prologue that talked about her. So that's kind of cool. So there's some of the lore that's related to this magic item and to the story, because Guinevere is a big part of the canon lore for the Forgotten Realm, especially when you come around Drizzt and stuff. A lot of people think this is overplayed, and it probably is. There's a lot of content out there about this stuff. There was novels made, there was figurines. I mean, it was played to the max, but I still like it. It's still part of my history of Dungeons and Dragons. It kind of inspired me to read, and it helped me get into the lore and the story of the backgrounds and such. So I like it still, even though it's kind of overdone. A lot of people are kind of sick of the the dual wielding scimitar of the a ranger type, but it's really what you make of it. And to be honest, if you kept this type of character at bay, like you didn't have them come out very often, and made them more heroic instead of more common, it wouldn't be that bad. So I put the onus of that onto not just the Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, but also the players. It's up to them to make it their own, and to keep that kind of thing from happening. So now that I have Guinevere kind of set up better to where I want it, and it's actually a usable stat block, and it's set, then I'm going to link the actual NPC to the back of the lore here, or on the actual item, and I'm going to. So when you want to use this, you just click on that stat block. And then the game master will have to help the player. But basically, as a game master, if you want your player to control this cat, you put it on the combat tracker, and then you make it friendly, because right now its default is non-friendly or evil. And then once you do that, you can take this, open it up for the stat block. Your player can access that, and then you would drag this stat block or this thing to the player that's going to play the NPC, and then they can just put a shortcut down below to bring up the stat block. They'll be able to control the actions of this creature, or in this case Guinevere. So those are all her commands and such. So that's how you handle NPC animals for the most part. There's other ways to do it. Some people would create a stat block. I don't know if it really needs it for this, but if you had an NPC, humanoid, that might be a thing. But nonetheless, this would just be for a one-time use. So that takes care of that. So I'm going to put the item in the inventory, and it doesn't take attunement. So drag and drop that. And see, it said figurine of wondrous power. It didn't require anything. It was already identified, so I don't have to worry about it. And then there's the silk shirt. That does require attunement, so let me drag and drop that onto the sheet. And I gotta check that off. So there, he's maxed out on attuned items. And then he has his 2 swords, which we've already done. And then there was some other things that I looked at that were, braces of the blinding strike. Those are part of his inventory. So let me go to, see, these are uncategorized. I want to put those in their own group when I get to that point. So that's a cloak of protection. I wanted to get the bracers because he has those. I think they're on his feet too, not on his wrists, because they might get in the way of his swordplay. I think that's what was said. So they're on his ankles instead of. I put braces. Bracers. Okay. Bracers of blinding strike. So this is basically an item that he has. They're wondrous. They're very rare. You don't have to attune them. So those go in his inventory too. So the bracers have to be equipped. The shirt needs to be equipped. And let's take a look at his. Yeah, it hasn't changed anything yet because I haven't built the powers for those yet. So I'm going to have to. Those don't necessarily automatically put anything on there because they're not really armor per se. And then I have to give him his chainmail, which is mithril. So there's chain, and then when you come down here, if you have the right content, this is mithril chainmail. So that's what he has in his inventory. So I will drag that to his inventory as well. So this is all coming from his sheet and his background. So let's see. You're going to give him the mithril chain, which is really nice armor. So he's got he's got this shirt that gives him bonuses. So he's going to have a pretty high armor class. It's already 16. I haven't even done the stats yet. So that's crazy. So that is that. So now that we have that done, I'm going to start leveling him up. Right now he's level 1, I think. No, not even a level yet. I haven't even picked anything yet. So I think this guy, I'm going to use, some of the Forgotten Realms lore. So if I go to the backgrounds, I think his main thing is he can be either a folk hero or a Outlander. So I think that's what his thing is yeah. So I'm going to make him an Outlander. That's about as close as we're going to get, other than a folk hero. But he doesn't really gain that until later. So I'm not sure, but I think Outlander pretty much sums it up. He gets athletics and survival. Yeah, it's kind of a hunter, wanderer type person. Often considered rude and uncouth among civilized folks, Outlanders have little respect for the niceties of life, society, cities, the ties of tribe, clan, and the natural world. Okay, so this is close. I'm sure you can argue to be something better. A folk hero is someone that kind of came up in ranks, and they're kind of the lowliest guy that's come up through and become something. I think Outlander is about as close as I'm going to get. So let me look at the stat block here. I should look at that. So I'm going to go to my images, and then I have the 8th level fighter model here. So let's see, where is that at? Is the archetype as a champion, class features, second win, extra attack, Fey ancestry, drow magic. I don't see anything about a background. There's, all that other stuff. The attack routines, the archetype, racial features, class features, archetype, attack routine. I don't see anything that really says otherwise. So probably the Outlander. I don't know if any of you guys have a preference or not, but definitely would pick the Outlander for now. If I have to, I can rebuild the character, but I think that's pretty close. It's not going to get any better or worse than that. So I'll go ahead and grab the Outlander or Far Traveler. Let's take a look at that. you are from a distant place, once so remote that, yeah, you know what? That actually might work too. You get, let's see, what do you get here? Yeah, Far Traveler is a good one. That works. Yeah, from the yeah, there you go. That's you get insight and perception. I like it. So I'm going to go ahead and drag Far Traveler over, and that adds the different things that you need for that. And now, of course, I'm going to go and pick the Drow race. So I'm going to go to the races, and then we're going to pick Drow. So come over here, pick Drow. Where's that at? Elf. So you got to pick an elf first. And then I'm going to grab the one from the player's handbook, drag and drop. And now we want the Dark Elf Drow Elf, which is on here. Yeah, so Dark Elf Drow is what we want to select, and click yes. And it adds in all the extra stuff for that. And now I'm going to pick the fighter class, and then the champion build. So I'm just going to level it up to level 3 for now. So I'm going to go over and grab the classes, and I'm going to pick fighter. I mean, I could do ranger, but he doesn't really use a lot of the ranger stuff. So it's like a fighter with some ranger qualities is basically what it's going to be like. So I'm going to grab this, drag and drop this onto his class and levels block. And it's already wanting to ask for 2 different skills. So from this particular build, he's going to get, so he already has insight and perception. So acrobatics, wait, this is his class thing. Does he have athletics? That should be in here. Or survival would be another good one. But I think athletics and acrobatics will do him well. But he has a feat or something that gives him, later on, it gives him better jumping and stuff. So I don't know if I need to do that. Maybe survival would be a better way to go. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit check. That's, both physical things based on strength. But, he needs a little bit of strength-based stuff in case he needs to climb rope and, that sort of thing. So that's probably the only reason I picked that. Survival probably would have been better, but, we'll see. So that was first level. So I'm not doing anything to it yet, but I'm going to level it up. So it's very simple to level up. You can either use the character wizard, or in this case, I've already started the manual process. So I'm just going to drag and drop this dragon head into the same area, and it added the extra materials and stuff in here that I need. And now I'm going to go to level 3 to pick my archetype. And eventually we're going to go up to level 8. So there's that, and we're going to go with the champion build. And I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, and there we go. So now I'm going to go up one more level, and this is where you get your stat increase bonuses and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that, and I'll just leave it, but I can add some stat bonuses here. So if I want to, or I can do a feat. I don't think this build has a feat to attach to it. So fighting style was, I believe it was 2 weapon fighting is one of the things that he got. And then there was another one I saw on that sheet. He's got his drow magic. He's got his some of his things here. Definitely Undercommon is one of his other languages for the drow. Versatility, fighting style, champion, action surge, ability score improvement. So I think I'm going to add that to strength and dex probably, or probably just dex. We'll see. So I'll at least add 1 there, so I get 2. So I'll put 1 on dex. So that will be good. And I'm just going to be adjusting these anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. And then I think I'll put 1 on strength. Because right now it looks really low, because I didn't give him the base stats or anything, because I'm going to change it at the end anyway. So, but that's the feature that you get at 4th level, and that's something I wanted to add in there. So that's that. So now, as far as his, experience points and that, I'm not going to worry about it. But that's just the basic stuff for right now. I'm not going to build much more on him today. It's a lot of things that you have to do, but I just left the stats the way they are because at the end, I'm just going to adjust them to the stats of the paper version of this anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to have him go up to level 8. So the next time I come on here, I'm going to level him up to level 8 and finish up his inventory, and then start building other content for the other 3 NPCs or allies. So we still got to build Brunar, we still got to build Wolfgar and Caddy Bree. So that's basically a lot to do. So I started here at 3:30. I think I'll give it a whirl, maybe look at a couple other things. But last week I found out that I can add the light to his to the map. So I've dragged this portrait, excuse me, not the portrait, but the character to the combat tracker, and then I'm selecting him, which is Drizzt. And I go to his actions, and he has this glowing thing, so I put that effect on him. And then when I was looking at the map itself, I was able to tell. So let me see if it'll bring up the map that I had him on before. Yeah, I guess I don't have him on a map right now, but in the library, I think I did have a map pack loaded. I must have unloaded it the other day. Yep. I took it off, but there was a map that I stuck on here. Let's try this one. I'll just do this audience hall thing. So this is from Zacchaeus' map pack that he made for the Legend of the Crystal Shard. So this is the map pack. And as you can see, it doesn't have a grid on it. So that would be the first thing I'm going to do, is just throw a grid on it and make it visible. And I'm going to take and change the color of the grid to like something more brighter so I could see, and I'm going to turn it up a touch in this case. Usually I turn it down, then I hit OK, and that's the grid. So now I want to just take a look at Drizzt's light for his sword, so I'm going to drag and drop that onto the map, and then you go to the play mode and turn on this is what he would see in the dark with that sword that he has, that it has the blades. It's pretty cool. It works pretty well. He also has dark vision, so if he didn't have that, you would also be seeing more stuff around. So that's I haven't set up the line of sight or anything on that map, so that's probably why that's not working. And this is what the player sees. So if I take that off, this is the Game Master view. So we'll keep checking him as we build him and make sure that the lighting's correct, and then he gets his dark vision. And could be canceled out by the glow of the sword anyway, so we'll see. Anyway, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do today. If you have any questions, just leave it in the aftermath. When I go and upload this, there will be a link for all the stuff that I'm talking about, and also the Fantasy Grounds version of DnD5e and all that kind of good stuff. The other thing is, found this little toy here. Hasbro's selling it, I think, out the door with cost and everything. It's like $50 or something like that, but it looks pretty cool. It comes with like these little blades, and it has 2 different heads, and here's all the accessories. And then there's, of course, you get Guinevere, you get the dice, there's a backdrop, and then there's some manuals and some picture art and stuff. So it's kind of it's more of a collector's item. Anyways, I'll see you guys around. Have a good day, and have a good weekend coming up, and I'll see you